rocks solid? So they're actually made of rocks? Ruby asked. Don't be a dolt. No living creature could be made out of rocks. Weiss scoffed. Did you already forget there are dragons with either some parts or that are entirely made of metal? John questioned, pointing back and forth with both arms to Guillotine's tail blade, Ozymandias, and Comet. John is correct, Weiss. With the logic of there being several metal dragons, as well as those that can armor themselves in anything from mud to ice, a rock dragon does not sound outside the realm of possibility. Penny agreed. That could make them a lot harder to cut into, though. Crow said. Well, let's just hope that they are peaceful monsters we won't have to cut into very often. Summer said. I believe our minds have had more than enough time to reach their own conclusions. Why don't we see if they are right? Ashvin suggested as the video started. A hunter in massive rock-like armor with an equally massive, equally rock-like hammer dropped down from a hill onto a decent-sized rock formation, landing with a grunt and looking around. You know, I accept this hunt, they don't tell me what I'm looking for and they think that I can just completely dash. He began to complain, before the ground around him began shaking violently, causing him to struggle to keep his balance. This surprisingly, however, didn't stop him from complaining about the situation. Come out here and deal with why is this rock moving? I don't want to die. He cried out as he finally realized something strange was afoot. Suddenly, rock/metal music played as the rock he was on was revealed to be a quite sizable flying wyvern as it glared back at him, before a salsa-type song played as the creature rocked back and forth to get the hunter off its back. Whoa! Half of the crowd cried out as they jumped at Basarios emerging from the ground. It came out of nowhere. That hunter thought he was just standing on a rock. Winter said in disbelief. Another master of camouflage. I like it. Ilya smirked. It did blend into the background pretty nice. That color can go with a lot. Coco noted. You weren't kidding. It really is made of rock. Emerald said in amazement. Then, Basarios began to dance and the shock turned to laughter. That's adorable. Neo cooed. Hey, Weiss. I think I found you a dance partner for your next concert. Blake said with a small smirk. For a large, sluggish-looking brute, I will admit, the right music does make it seem like a fine dance. Weiss admitted. Look, Basarios has a lot of sides to him that you might not know about. Welcome, fellow hunters, as today we talk the Rocky Titans and their huge, bulging, bag of tricks. Rage properly began the episode as the rock monster threw the hunter off by slamming into another rock, before turning to face the one who interrupted its nap. Honestly, must he always try to trick us into believing he'll say something vulgar? It's unbecoming to say the least. Glinda stated. Indeed. His job is to inform the viewer about dangerous creatures. You'd think that would take priority over making jokes. Ironwood stated. Ease up, Jimmy. Sometimes a little humor lightens the mood. If you told me I was going up against a giant flying thing made out of rocks, I'd take it a lot better if you opened up with a few jokes here and there. Roman explained. Sienna often encouraged a comedy night for the white fan. It kept morale up in the tough transition from peace organization to terrorist group. Adam added. Alia was then seen sneaking through a large, open area of the swamplands. Beginning with the dash, rage began. Suddenly, it cut to a morbidly obese man. Baby! He shouted. It then returned to Alia in the swamp as the creature seen earlier burst from the ground once again. Well, Basarios. He is a flying wyvern, though he is way too chunky to be doing that. For the most part his wings are weak and useless, but he can get a little bit of lift every now and then, but he likes to spend most of his days hiding like the coward he is, being totally inconspicuous at all times. Rage introduced the beast properly and explained its main survival tactic, which it currently seemed to be completely ignoring as it roared at Alia, then looked all around casually, sticking out like the world's biggest sore thumb. RWBY, Velvet and Pyrrha were all offended at Rage's less than modest name for the baby monster. "Hey! That's mean," Velvet snapped. "Yeah, Basarios isn't chunky. He's epic." RWBY cheered. "Exactly. If anything, I'd call him reinforced," Pyrrha said resolutely. Many others, however, simply laughed both at the description and the Cinnamon Trio's defense of the beast. "Come on, Rubes. If there's one thing that can be called chunky out of all these monsters, it's this one," Crow told her. "He's right, Pyrrha. That is probably one of the bulkiest monsters so far. Not the biggest, but definitely bulkiest," John told her. "Extra thick," Nora declared. Sped-up footage of Alia running around a larger, but more tree-filled area of the swamp was shown. "Ding dong, where is it you've gone to? Do you think you've won? Our game of hide and seek has just begun." A creepy song played as she approached the Basarios, resting beneath the ground, save for its rocky back. The audience was once again left in a state of shock at this. "So, anyone else find that creepy?" Yang asked. The rest of Team RWBY, all of Team JNPR, Coco, Velvet, Penny, and even Roman, Neo and Emerald raised their hand at this. "That's something I'd pictured Brim chasing me to," Ren admitted. Cinder shuddered. "Or worse, Salem," she stated, Ashben and Hazel becoming stiff as statues, picturing the Grim Queen coming for them accompanied to that haunting music. The scene of Basarios looking around in the other area was shown again. So, his, let's just say lackluster camouflage, well, okay, look, in his credit, it works mostly against other monsters that don't really think to, well, take a bite out of what appears to be solid rock, lest they have lost all sense of value in their teeth, but for a hunter's gaze, it's quite comically bad." Rage admitted as Alia approached the beast as it somehow failed to pay attention to her while it looked around its surroundings. "If it works in nature, then it serves its main purpose," Hazel stated. Agreed. Humans have evolved and plan to move past nature. It would be difficult for any creature to come up with an adaptation we couldn't counter, or eventually learn and see past. Winter agreed. And, to be fair, if you've never seen or heard of Basarios before and are seeing its camouflage for the first time, you wouldn't suspect anything. Penny defended the beast's camo. But Basarios has a lot going for him. He has a lot of strength and weight to throw around, especially for his size, and can veritably bulldoze weaker, fleshy targets, but the main piece to resistance is that one of Mother Nature's special little helpers went to her and went, well, we need to make sure that the baby Basarios becomes a Gravios. So what if, like, he needs a defense? And nature went, well, he can hide. Yeah, I know he can hide, but like, what if he's found? Well, I'll give him poison gas. Okay, I like that, but what if he faces something resistant to poison? Okay, that seems unlikely, but I guess I can give him fire explosion gas? And maybe a laser beam that he can ignite with a concentrated flame organ deep in his belly that projects out with pinpoint accuracy for a short burst of intense heat that can melt rock? That's pretty good, you know? That should ward a lot of people off, but I'm still worried a little. Rage explained as Alia fought the beast, dodging its charges, rolls, tail swipes, and indeed, a giant could have purple poisonous gas. The intellectuals and animal lovers were all shocked at this. Unbelievable. A creature made of stone being able to let out a fierce burst of toxic smoke. Glenda said in disbelief. How could it possibly do that? I'd assume this creature eats rocks, much like Uragon, but that one lived in a volcanic region where the rocks have dangerous, unstable chemicals within them. Ironwood said in shock. It is possible, James. It may eat rock, but there's still the possibility of it being carnivorous or even omnivorous, in which case, it lives in a swamp, so there is plenty of potential for it to feast on things that may support a poisonous organ, such as a venom sac. Ashbin explained. And clearly, we're nowhere near done yet. With everything this guy's got, he's almost sounding like he should be an elder dragon. Emerald said, amazed. Yeah, this helper guy's got a lot of nerve asking this much of Mother Nature for one creature that isn't even an elder dragon. She's the boss, you're just there to help her out if she needs it. Summer declared, pouting as she remembered many of her team squabbles, mostly with her and Raven. I think he was just kidding about that part, some. Crow told her, somewhat nervously. At this point, Mother Nature understandably just wanted to get rid of this guy, so she started busting out all the stops. Okay. I guess I'll give him the ability to superheat the ore that he eats to absorb nutrients, to grow his development into Gravios and launch it like apocalyptic meteors that rain down in explosive fury, melting armor and flesh as if it was not. Rage continued this hypothetical conversation between Mother Nature and her aide as Aelia fought the juvenile monster. Oh, come on. It has all this, and they're still not done. No animal, especially one made from rock, needs this much protection. Weiss cried out. Well, at least it's going to stay safe with that kind of defenses. Neo said happily. Unless they're up against a hunter again. Seriously, though, how can it be okay to hunt these guys? Roman asked. Well, let's just say people mining for ore don't like it when a giant monster pops out and starts shooting laser beams and explosive, sleep and poison at them. Rosara explained. Perhaps they should be given a brief class on how to identify and avoid Basarios, then? Penny suggested. Dang, that's a good idea. Katana said, mentally cursing herself for not coming up with it. While this was happening, a bull Fango was seen scuffing its hoof in preparation for a fight, before charging Aelia, who expertly spun out of the way with a declaration of nope, and attacked Basarios again. As the fight continued, Aelia took a swig of a potion due to the hit she took, but the bull Fango found her again and charged into her. I'm not finished with you. The boar beast exclaimed as it knocked Aelia back several feet. The teens all laughed at Aelia being attacked by the boar creature. Whoa. That's one mean piggy. Nora said. It almost reminds me of Weiss' fight with that Borbytusk in Professor Port's class. Blake reminisced, earning a groan from her partner. I'll have to talk with Peter about that at some point. Ashbin noted. You could say that thing went hog wild. Yang declared, everyone groaning. Yang, sweetie, even for you, that's a stretch. And really not funny. Summer told her stepdaughter. However, based on the conversation, Nature's helper still wasn't satisfied. That's good. You still want more, don't you? Well, I'm just saying. What if they're fire resistant, poison resistant, and have really good eyesight and also can be immune to laser beams? Okay, I'll give him sleep gas. Does sleep gas do anything for you? I'll pack a fucking sleep organ into him and he can put that bastard to sleep. You know what? I think I like this. I think it's alright. I'll have that locked in for you. That seems pretty good. Okay. Glad we're done. Rage explained the last major detail to Basario's abilities through this strange conversation with himself. I would say this creature is like an Elysian army knife, but I think that's giving the army knife too much credit. Adam stated. Man, I should have used sleep gas for a lot of my missions. That would have made things way easier. Ilias said. These creatures almost sound like they have more power than a maiden. Hazel added. Well, let's just say nothing lasts forever. Teko hinted without giving any direct spoilers. However, this bit was not quite done. Next? Then, a video of a Yayan Kukku was shown. Hello, I'm here for my abilities. You get nothing but fire, motherfucker. An angry Alia declared, switching back to a Kukku with sad music. Oh. Okay. The Cinnamon Trio felt bad for the strange bird wyvern. Poor Kukku. That isn't fair. Velvet declared, pouting a bit. Exactly. It isn't his fault that Basarios got too many advantages. Pyrrha agreed. Better powers for Kukku. RWBY cheered. As adorable as all your cheering is, I doubt nature's going to make one of its weakest monsters more dangerous, because 3 cinnamon rolls want it that way. Cinder told them, especially RWBY, who she pulled in close as RWBY tried to act distant and aloof, but quickly gave in and snuggled with Cinder. The video then returned to the fight between Alia and the Basarios in the swamp. Seriously, why does he have all the things? He is a beautiful little so-and-so. His hide, then, very much is akin to rock. Not in the literal sense, but in its makeup is nearly identical and as such is incredibly resistant to any form of piercing attacks, because again, we're not done on what this guy can do to survive. And he uses this to essentially shrug off smaller monsters that would try to bring him down. A pack of prey could spend all day and make no headway in trying to slay this Bae. Rage rhymed his next sentence rather impressively. This even got the praise of a group of gen prey that seemed to be stood together and singing like a barbershop quartet. Who, she fight. They sang their praise. Many chuckled at the randomness of raptors in a barbershop quarter. However, Ren's eyes lit up at this. Monsters making a barbershop quartet. Fascinating. See, Pyrrha. That's how you should be in sync with others when singing and dancing. Ren snapped. Sure, they were in sync by the time of the dance, but the task of getting Pyrrha ready for it was no easy one. He simply sighed as Nora's glare and Pyrrha's natural response of I'm sorry. Come on, Ren. Lighten up. It is pretty cool how it actually does look like they're singing, though. John said. And that tiger stripe pattern they have is pretty nice, too. Coco added. Gen prey. They're my personal favorite of the raptors in terms of their looks and the fact they paralyze their enemies. Rosara added. He then likes to spend his time in warmer climes, not the superheated inferno central to a volcano. He needs his adult form for that, but closer. The warm swamps are a good fit. He is incredibly resistant to heat, the insulation here is real. He likes to charge much like a Diablo's, but he adds his own little flair known as falling over and rolling, attempting to crush would-be aggressors into a fine, blood-red paste with his immense bulk. His entire objective then, is to stay out of trouble, to feed and slowly gain the strength to grow into a Gravios. He, as he ages, slowly sheds his unwieldy bulk into a much deadlier and streamlined shell, and it only gets denser and harder to break. He will grow to mammoth sizes. Rage explained as the Basarios stomped forward, releasing a cloud of poison gas with each stomp. Isn't it already big enough? Neo complained. That's what she said. Yang laughed. Really, Yang? Really? Crow chastised her. I'd say any monster's already big enough for you, Shrimp. Emerald teased the smallest member of her team, to which Neo stuck out her tongue. Now, he does eat meat, too, whenever he can a free meal. And, indeed, a lot of his diet does contribute to the fuel that powers his poison and sleep organs. In fact, the reason that Gravios does lose the ability to poison is the regions they dwell to not contain enough prey with enough concentration to allow him to use it, the organ shriveling up and becoming functionally Well, it's like the Gravios appendix. Rage explained as Alia managed to knock over the miniature titan. Well, that's at least one small respite. Winter said in relief. Indeed. Poison is a rarity on Remnant, so the fewer monsters that have it, the better. Ironwood agreed. No worries, we know an antidote that's basically a cure-all for any monster poison out there. We'll hook you up. Tekko declared. Someone's on the fast track to an A once she applies to Beacon. Ashbin said with a smile. Ashbin. You can't judge her based on deeds outside the classroom. Especially when she isn't a student yet. Glinda snapped. I did for RWBY. He said, causing her to huff and look away. They are reasonably calm creatures, easily startled and tend to flee over fight. They really just want to survive in any of the myriad of ways that they can. Eventually, though, it comes time to grow up and we have ourselves. Rage built up as a Basarios was seen roaring, before it rapidly kept cutting between it and a much larger creature roaring, before a bright light flashed and it stayed on the new creature, which let out a massive, deep bellow. Everyone was in awe at this new beast. It's huge, Blake said. I'm not even sure my laser would be able to do much against such a beast. Penny said fearfully. Is it too much to hope that it's friendly? Pyrrha asked. Look at all the spines, and points over its body. Friendly is the last thing I'd say about such a creature. Weiss said. I wish I could say that's just a schnee judging a book by its cover, but that beast looks menacing to me as well. Adam agreed. Alia was then seen running up a slope in a volcano towards the beast. Gravios then. Well, he is just absolutely monstrous in power, only really having to fear the very upper echelons of rivals for his territory, and he is, indeed, fiercely territorial. He will crush, burn and obliterate any who dare challenge him, unless they happen to be in a canter. Rage explained as a Gravios fired a massive beam of heat that put Basarios to shame, but the target of the beam, a massive black and spiky beast, barely seemed fazed by the beam, barely being pushed back by it. Okay, not friendly. Duly noted. Coco said, gulping at the sight of that beam. To be fair, its challenger doesn't look like it's there for pleasant conversation. Ren countered. No. Only one of them's walking away from this. And it ain't the rock dragon. Hazel declared. Omi wa Maushindiru. The beast declared. Nanny? The Gravios demanded, before the beast rushed forward, slamming it into a massive rock wall behind it and, from the sound of things, breaking its neck. Many were deeply intimidated by the spiky new arrival. It's like a giant nergigant. RWBY cried out, hugging Summer tightly. It's alright, RWBY. It might be big, but that also means it's probably super slow. It'd never catch us. Summer told her daughter, running her hand through her hair. Maybe not you speedsters, but we're not all that fast. Delvet said fearfully, clinging tightly to Coco. Even Neo was clinging tightly to Cinder. It's still alive. It needs to eat, sleep and breathe. And it must bleed. That means we can still kill it. Cinder said resolutely. If a giant heat laser can't stop that thing, what can? John asked, horrified that it just shrugged off a beam as impressive as Penny's. Surprisingly, Nora put her hand on John's shoulder. As a team, working together with the help of our fearless leader, she declared, then smirked. And with me breaking its legs, she added, getting a much-needed laugh from the group. Alia and the Gravios were then seen in the volcano once again. For an elder dragon, but below that, he is gonna give one hell of a fight. Now mature and in control of abilities it started to show as a child, his heat beam is just disintegration. It will wash over targets, burning and ripping away their very shell, bubbling the flesh and blood underneath, and punching holes through larger targets, sizzling with the smell of roasted meat, for he will then casually chow down. It is, by far, his single most deadly ability. Rage admitted as Alia attacked the Gravios while it slowly attacked, hitting her more often as it casually turned to look for her due to its massive size. It's not even paying attention and it's still kicking her ass. How do you compete with that? Roman demanded. By staying away from the giant tail club. Duh. She just got really unlucky. And needs to get down from that hill or whatever. Ilya stated. I think I'll be just fine blasting it with my cane from its maximum range, thank you very much. The former crime lord insisted. Another clip was then shown of a green humanoid creature with Gravios' head superimposed over it. Fire! The person screamed, firing a deadly beam from his fingertips. The target of this beam was a vicious-looking man with insanely long hair. Kakarot! He cried out urgently, before he and Goku, who held him in a full Nelson, were both effortlessly impaled by the beam. This would have been a bit better if we didn't just see the beam totally fail against a canter, but that's still pretty epic. Yang said. I'm not even sure my sword could handle that for my moonslice. Adam said. Wasn't that Goku who got impaled along with that guy with super long hair? Coco asked. Yeah. It's so refreshing to see Goku take fatal damage. Teko declared with a sadistic grin. How could you say that? Blake asked. A. Because we have magical balls in our universe that can bring back the dead. B. Because he almost got their universe erased just so he could fight in a dumb tournament. I mean, sure, I only live there in the summer, but my dad lives there full time. Teko explained her disdain for the orange-clad scion. Back to the fight, with the Gravios simply wheeling around as Alia climbed to the high ground. His finesse is greater than that, for he can concentrate it and fire it in laser-like pulses, designed to more specifically target the weak points of an enemy. He comes across as a dumb brute, but there is some thinking behind him. Even heavier now, this is the Armor Wyvern, an indomitable shell that repels most nearly any attack as if you're trying to hunt him with a piece of plastic. It is one of the most impervious shells of any monster, almost enough to make a Brachydios blush. He is very much a living tank. Rage praised as the Gravios could be seen biting chunks out of a rock wall, before it showed Alia fighting the beast again as it did fire these laser pulses at her while shrugging off nearly all of her attacks. Penny was actually bouncing in her seat and clapping at this. Fascinating. I am capable of similar abilities with my own laser. Perhaps I should study more videos of Gravios to see if I can mimic any of its laser techniques? She pondered. Good idea, Penny. It's nice to see that you wish to improve your techniques and abilities. Winter praised. I agree. That's just one more thing that makes you amazing, Penny. Weiss told her, causing the robot girl to blush and smile. He can also expel a potent knockout gas capable of bringing down all but the largest of monsters, refined and concentrated from his years as a Basarios. He will also use his very plentiful weight to charge, barrel, crush, stomp, occasionally even going to the effort of flying moderately high into the air to come spiraling down as he absolutely quakes and cracks the very earth beneath, as well as force whatever poor soul was beneath him to combine with it. This is not something anyone should ever have to experience. Rage listed the many ways a Gravios could defend itself or destroy an opponent, all the while Alia continued to fight the beast and dodged or blocked almost every one of these attacks, except for the final one, which saw her crushed beneath the beast, unconscious, but miraculously still alive. That thing can actually get its giant butt into the air. Yang asked in shock. Durambaros can, and it doesn't even have wings. So something that does should certainly be able to. Adam said with a shrug. It'd take all our aura to survive that. And I'm still betting a trip to the ER would be involved. Cinder said, actually sounding nervous. Then, everyone was shocked that Alia managed to survive the attack. No way. They don't have any aura or anything. How could she possibly survive? John asked, starting to question reality for a moment. She was lucky enough to have found the tiniest gap where she wouldn't get smashed. It did hit her head, though. Rosara explained. However, shortly after, she was right back in the fight, rolling out of the beast's path as it prepared to charge. Though, his one weakness, or at least his most prominent one is, his rock-like hide is arranged in a plate-like manner, which means with enough prying in just the right places, it can be chipped and forced away, ripping free and leaving him very vulnerable, the soft underside revealed and, well, prime stabbing real estate. But these gaps are necessary, as it is what lets him vent the excess heat his fiery onslaught produces, doubling up with an explosive defense. Without this, he would quite literally cook himself from the inside, as the temperatures he produces. Well, they make the lava that he calls his home look like a tepid bath. In fact, he can quite happily wade, swim and rest in magma for as long as he pleases, using it to swim and burrow between parts of his territory. Rage explained as the Gravios charged past Alia, far overshooting its distance and coming to a stop after going neck-deep into the magma. Many of the more intellectual types were shocked at this. Unbelievable. We've seen it before, but still to see these creatures moving and swimming in lava, it's unreal. Ojban said in barely contained disbelief. You saw me riding one when it was swimming in lava earlier. Teko reminded them of the kinship attacks. Well, yeah, but to see it up close and personal is a whole other thing altogether. Summer told her. It's almost like it's showing you it's on another level, casually standing something you can't even get close to without burning. Hazel explained. His tail is a spiked club of immense strength, able to punch holes deep into opposition armor. He is not afraid to use it to its maximum, merciless efficiency. Even its organs are all tightly packed, dense in the center of its body to provide maximum distance twixt the heat of its preferred home in them. He is built from the ground up to be a superweapon, and he really is not afraid to prove it. The tail, not just a mace, it also helps balance him, for I really can't exaggerate this enough, he is WEIGHTY. It's not an over-exaggeration that he is amongst the upper echelons in both size and raw power of all the flying wyverns. He's also a fan of chowing down on volcanic rock and/or which, combined with his furnace inside, helps give his inferno arsenal that little extra oomph. Rage explained the last big points of the beast as Alia managed to get on its back and stab at it as it struggled to get her off of it. I could make an awesome hammer out of that tail. Nora said. Well, it's good to think of how you could use your resources. Ren said awkwardly. Bet your wishing Atlas could work for them when you heard superweapon. Huh, Jimmy? Crow taunted. Drunken fool. Winter scoffed. Actually, I'm quite thankful, Crow. Because even if these beasts were easy to tame, any wild Gravios would be superweapons against Atlas, which I'd like to avoid. Ironwood said. Crow smirked at this. Right answer. He said approvingly with a nod. Ironwood was surprised at this, but smiled and nodded back. The battle continued and Alia finally managed to bowl over the massive, rocky behemoth. Though that really is all you need to know about the juveniles and the adult. They are very simple on the surface creatures, but both hiding something fascinating within. Though there are a few extra flavors we should totally be aware of. To go back to Basarios for a moment, we have the RWBY Basarios. Rage declared, showing a picture of a Basarios with the red precious gems extending out from all ending points of the beast's body. Beautiful, its crystalline formations crimson and glimmering as it lines its back. found exclusively in the Everwood where these minerals are found and, indeed, it loves to have a snack on them, and they contain a power that changes the very biology of the Basarios in the zone. Rage explained, but said it awkwardly and laughed about his indecision to choose between area or zone. Oh, my gosh, it's beautiful. I love all the rubies all over it. Ruby cried out, with stars in her eyes. Maybe that should have been your monster instead, huh, sis? Yang asked. No way. It's cool, but I still love Crimson way more. Ruby said, playing with the dragon-amplified Xenogre, still on her lap, the size of Spy. Besides, I can't cuddle with a rock. She added. Besides, one ruby around here is perfect. There's no need for more. Right, my little gemstone? Summer asked, tickling Ruby, who giggled. A fight between Alia and a normal Basarios went on in the background as Rage continued. They are, well, not massively different from their usual brethren, but they are very much capable of using their spiky selves to add a little extra flair. They will shake crystals off their body for a rain of very deadly projectiles all around. They're also much tougher nuts to crack, as it were. As it turns out, though, no one has ever seen a Gravios that was once a Ruby Basarios. What they might look like, how they might function. Well, that is an enigma and mystery for the guild. One can imagine they are a sight to behold. Rage gave the basic information on the subspecies before the image faded away. Too bad. A Ruby Gravios would no doubt be an incredible sight. Weiss said wishfully. Yeah. Not to mention, I could make bank mining some of those puppies off it. Roman said. Just one would fill up a jewelry department for our store. Neo agreed. All in one color, thought. Coco brought up an obvious problem. Then, we have the black Gravios. Rage announced as the image of a darker, far more terrifying version of the already imposing Gravios was shown, heart-pounding music accompanying the image for added effect. Ruby and several others jumped at the sight of the darker Gravios. It almost looks like a Grim. Pyrrha said in shock. It looks like it would eat a Grim for lunch. And then have us for dessert. Velvet squeaked. You'd be crazy to try and fight that thing. Ilya said. Sometimes, doing the right thing is crazy, but it's still the right thing. Ren stated. The image of the darkened monster was shown to the left of the screen as Alia continued to face off against the normal version of the beast. He is just fearsome. A dark ebony shell, the dark armor wyvern. He looks like some demon spewed out of hell for being too violent. Aggressive, larger, more formidable in every respect, beams more intense, and an onslaught that is nigh unstoppable. It is bad news to find a black Gravios and it. Well, it will let you know about it if you do. Little red spines line their body as well, just for that piece de resistance, dipped in the blood of your enemy's look, just in case the initial darkness wasn't enough to give the general stay-away warnings. The black Gravios can almost survive an encounter with an Incanter, that's how much tougher it actually gets. Rage explained as Alia leapt into a lower dent in the ground to avoid the Gravios laser. That's quite the step up in power, then. Truly, a simple increase in aggression can get you a long ways in nature. Winter said in shock. It certainly does wonders for Tigrex and Nergigant. Glinda said, remembering their strategy also revolves essentially around relentless, aggressive attacking. It's why Tyrion's so effective in battle. He almost never stops attacking, so you can't stop defending to try and attack back. Hazel explained. These Gravios then end up this way because while young as Basarios, they were too brave, too bold, and strayed too close to what would be in the future, their volcanic home and, well, quite literally were burnt, their parent Gravios non-removed from this horrific occurrence. Essentially, they're kind of like if Zuko grew up evil. Rage explained, before a boy was shown weeping on his hands and knees. They have a grudge everlasting, and they mean to take it out on everything that moves. Rage finished ominously. Why do I feel like I should be in a club with that boy and another one with white and red hair? Cinder wondered. To have a grudge on the world just because they were dumb and got burnt as kids. That's insane. Emerald stated. Thankfully, remnants volcanoes and few and far in between. Ironwood said in relief. But what if they can't find such places and are forced to adapt their habitats? Ashvin wondered. I have to say, even I was pretty intimidated by those monsters. Cinder admitted. Yeah. I guess you could say they totally rocked. Yang said, everyone groaning. Neo smirked at this. Yeah. I sure won't ever take them for granted. Neo added, the groans growing louder. Dear gods, make them stop. Coco complained. Still, I thought Basarios was pretty cool. RWBY admitted. Indeed. It may be a bit extreme, but I'm happy it has so many ways to survive to reach adulthood. Summer agreed. And Gravios is so awesome. I want to turn its tail into a hammer. Nora declared. And, due to them living in volcanic regions, I highly doubt we'll have many confrontations with them. Glinda added. Well, they can live in swamps, too, but that's quite a bit less common. Rosara stated. Same point, then. Swamps aren't really a hot spot for living places in Remnant. Crow said. So, what's next? John asked. Well, next I think it's time to introduce the two that are probably the next strongest flying wyverns. Katana said. So, Blake, Ilya, you guys should probably remember these guys and tell Sun about them, because Vacuo and the deserts of Menagerie are gonna be seeing a lot of these guys. Teko declared. She's right. So, get ready, my friends. Because next are the demons of the desert. Starting with one of the most feared, non-elder dragons of all, Diablos. Katana declared.